Hey, you wild women. Here we are. I'm actually in my husband's office. He's away on some bike trip. I don't even know what he's doing. It's the time of year where he goes away for so long. Anyway, I think it's great in here, but I don't like the lighting and I'm really afraid to touch stuff. But I'm here because I had to make the decision to do this. And this is what we're going to talk about today in this episode, all about making decisions. Now, I'm going to pull my notes closer to me and I'm wondering, oh, it's going to show on the camera. There we go. We're good. We're good. We're good. This has been on my mind because I found myself going on date nights with my husband. I don't know if you do this too. And I feel like I make so many decisions in a day, from business decisions to kid decisions, that when it comes to things like what to wear or where to go for dinner, it's a decision I don't want to make. And so coming into this recording, I am about 3 days out from leaving to go to Tulum, Mexico to speak at an event. I'm just joking. It's a mastermind that I'm hosting. So yes, I'm speaking, but I've pulled in 9 of some epic female entrepreneurs and we are going to Tulum to just mastermind and chill. Anyway, when I looked at the calendar of content I needed to create before I left, I realized that we would be okay if I didn't record this episode. And so typically what we do is we try to record all the content for when I'm gone, including the week or two after I arrive back, because you're always playing catch up. And I'm in the clear. I don't have to record this episode up and we won't be behind, but we won't really be ahead either. And let me tell you, it takes 20 minutes to sit down and record this. But the crazy thing is I actually thought the whole drive home, so like 15 minutes it took me to get home from the studio, all I could think about was, do I record this tonight or not? Do I record it when I get back? Will it be on my mind? Believe me, I kept asking myself all these silly questions when all I had to do was decide. So I was going through the notes for this show and it got me thinking as I was putting my laptop down on the counter that, Renee, just do it. And what is one thing I have to do to make it happen was I told the boys, I'm like, hey guys, I'm jumping in Dad's office and I'm going to record an episode. So you all have to be quiet. So you see how a decision affects other people? So every choice that we make, it doesn't just affect us. This wasn't just about me. It impacts our team, our family, the people around us. Like for me, it's like they need to be quiet. And this is their small window of the day where they can be on their VR, which they end up being really loud because they're talking to their buddies. And here's the thing that I've noticed both in my own journey and with other entrepreneurs, is that when we make better decisions, it ends up creating this amazing upward spiral. We feel more confident, we're less stressed, and suddenly new doors open and they continue to open. But here's the real deal. It's not just about deciding to do something or not to avoid regret. It's about making choices that protects what matters most, which is your time, while also moving your goals forward. So in the decision to actually record this episode, it's like, it just makes more sense for me to sit down and do it than to not, because I have the time tonight. There's nothing pressing. There's no soccer for the boys or anything. I have the time. What else am I going to do? Sure, work, read. I don't know. I said, no, Renee, you're going to do it. So I wanted to record this episode to teach you some basic tips and tricks on how to make better decisions. Because when you make better decisions, everything in your life becomes better. The problem is that there's a lot of you that sit in that pocket of worry where you doubt the decision you have, you doubt what you know or don't know, and you either end up making the foolish decision, and it's the foolish decision, or you don't end up deciding at all. So let's talk about a couple things. First, I'm going to get this one out of the way. The life or death situation. Like this is you running up and there's a bear there that's going to attack you. So there's the freeze, fight, flight, or fawn response. We learned really quickly in this household that I have what is it? Freeze? No, it's the fight, The fawn, it's the screaming and wailing your hands when something happens. So a couple years ago, we came home from Costa Rica. Turns out we brought a scorpion back with us, a live scorpion. And when I was doing the laundry, it ended up crawling up my arm. Didn't know this. And it rested on my shoulder for the better part of the morning until I saw it there because I saw my reflection in a mirror, thinking it was my hair. Turns out it was a scorpion. So anyways, I was like flailing. I flicked the thing off me. I thought there was more. And anyways, I digress. It was a crazy situation. In my mind, that was life or death. Is this thing going to sting me and am I going to die? It didn't. We ended up killing it. Oh, I wish we would have put it in a jar. So when you think about these life or death situations, there might be instances in your life when you think everything is life or death. Do I pack an extra juice box for my kids in the morning because they have extracurricular after school, or is that too much sugar? The way that your body responds sometimes is actually life or death, but it might not be. So when things are like high stakes scenario, your body will react. Like I'm talking about you're facing a bear, not about what juice box to put in your kids' juice in their lunchbox. But like you really do have to a quick scan of your environment. Are you safe? Is there an escape? Like the same feelings of anxiety that you have because your life is on the line, we often put on ourselves when we're making just basic decisions. But know in these moments when things are just crazy that you need to just make a decision. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be good enough for your survival. This also applies in your business and at home. So the next thing is called the pause framework. PAUSE, pause framework. First is problem identification. So you have to decide if you're going to hire somebody. So what's the problem? Well, this person is, you got to get clear on that and what you're actually deciding. Do you have the work and the money to be able to hire somebody? If so, yes, go and do it. So it's like, there's the problem. We understand that it exists. So next you find alternative choices. So force yourself to see multiple options. This is like the 1-3-1 technique where you have one problem, come up with 3 solutions, and then decide on the final best fit solution. And then you have to understand your consequences. So what are some quick risk or benefit analysis to this decision? This could be like, you could run through this if you're going to drop the kids off at school and you have enough time to bring your car for the car wash because you need it cleaned because you're picking up a client at the airport. Like going through this framework allows you to really justify where you should get it cleaned, when you should get it cleaned, and all these things so that you're just making a best guess decision. So the S in pause is selecting the best option. You need to use clear criteria. And then the E is execute and evaluate. So sometimes the decision could be as fruitful as you're signing on a new client and you got to figure out who on your team you need to assign this to. It could be about bringing your car to the car wash and your kids are in the car or on your way to school drop off. There's so many moments in our life where we allow ourselves to put on this anxiety of making big decisions when they're really not that big. We need to chill a little bit. One being what to wear on the day. My husband has the exact same outfit that he wears every single day because that minimizes the cognitive energy every morning on deciding what to wear. For me, I like to have a little style. So I have things that are different tops, different dresses, different shoes and bags. And some days I like to go and try something new, but I will tell you most days I get frustrated going into my closet, looking at all the clothes I have, feeling guilty because I only wear 20% of it, then deciding today I'm going to wear something new. I might be in the shower. So maybe I'll wear that new dress today, or maybe I'll put on that pair of pants I haven't worn in 5 or 6 months. Then what happens is putting on my makeup, I get anxious because now I realize it's -30 outside. I should not be wearing that dress. I don't know if you relate. So then you backpedal on your decision. Now, there's nothing wrong with wearing that dress, even if it's in the dead of winter. I could have put on a coat, whatever. I digress. But when I use the pause framework, it's like Now I have to allow myself to decide what I'm wearing to work while I'm in the shower. What information do I need to collect? It's what's the temperature out? Is it going to rain? Is it going to snow? Because that's going to affect what you wear. But then the moment the shower is done is when the decision is made and I'm not turning back. Okay, so the pause framework, problem identification, alternative, coming up with alternatives, understanding the consequences of your decision, selecting the best option, and then executing and evaluating. So here are some other cool tools that I used from deciding on what time of the day I should be working out. I know a 10 out of 10 is doing it in the morning, and I don't always get to it, and that's okay. So the 10 rule for like big decisions is asking yourself how it's going to matter for you in 10 minutes, 10 months, or 10 years. One decision we decided to do for the next school year is to take our kids out of school. And we're going to world school. We're going to travel the world and bring a teacher with us and do some homeschooling while we travel. That has been a dream of my husband's for so long, but also knowing that it requires a complete life adjustment to not be in our home, to not be in our routine. I need to be okay with this. To come up that decision, I actually went through months of work because this is what needed to happen because it is kind of a big decision. I ended up putting a little presentation together for my husband that was the pros and cons of world schooling for the boys and for our family at this age. And it was quite jarring. The cons, I really hooked myself on the cons because they far outweighed the pros in my presentation, even though intuitively I wanted to do it. So I had to ask myself, why were these cons so potent for me? Because it had really nothing to do with anybody else but myself. It was old trauma. It was lived experiences. It was expectations that I had from everybody, including myself. When I started to just ease off a little bit on how I think this should go, the more I allowed it to just fluidly show up. And when I sat there and asking myself the question, do I want to world school? Do we want to homeschool? It was an immediate F yes. I knew that all the problems and all the stories that I was telling myself were problems that could easily be solved or never really would occur to begin with. So I let it go. So when I look at like the 10-10-10 rule, how will this matter in 10 minutes, 10 months, or 10 years? The 10-year one is the biggest one because when I think about what is 10 years from now, gosh, my oldest will be like 23 years old. And will it matter if we traveled the world and world schooled them? Heck yes. The memories, the experiences, the stuff they're going to learn. This was a 10 out of 10 for sure. So when you think about the smaller decision, like you're at the bookstore and you're in front of the planner aisle and you have this growing ambition to buy yet another planner and you have to ask yourself, in the grand scheme of things, in 10 years, you probably won't remember buying this planner, but will this matter in 10 minutes? It might, because maybe you want to buy this gigantic planner, but you have to walk home and now you have to carry this thing with you. In 10 months, maybe it'll be the best way for you to stay organized. In 10 years, again, it won't matter. So what does 10 minutes, 10 months, or 10 years actually reflect when you ask the question? Because if it's not significant at any of that time, then maybe you should just not do it. There's also the 2-minute rule for small decisions. In our business, there are certain levels of decision making that people can make based on how much something costs to solve a problem. So if a decision really requires less than 2 minutes to make, then you just do it. If it's under $500 and is easily reversible, then you just do it. So then you don't have to have people asking you all these questions. The same goes for our household. So Betty, our house manager, has the same rules applies. So if there's anything we need to fix the house or something with the dog, then she has that freedom to make this decision herself. If it costs less than $500, just do it. Most stuff can be returned or refunded. So there's never an issue. The other thing too is pre-commitment strategies for anticipated pressure points. So how are you a pressure point? Meaning I need to go to the gym 4 days a week and I'm on day 5 and I still have a couple days to go. So there's pressure because you've already committed to going to the gym, but you've pre-committed. So what do you need to do to help minimize the decision when you wake up? Because you've made the decision at night. What is that decision going to be in the morning when you're tired and you just want to lay around? You just want coffee. Maybe you put your shoes out. Maybe you get your water bottle and your bag ready. All this stuff takes 2 minutes and you put it in a place that's going to remind you you're going to the gym. I get my water bottle and my post-workout shake and I put it next to the coffee machine as a reminder, Renee, you're going to the gym or you're going to go work out. So it's a pre-commitment strategy that doesn't allow me to tap out. So where do we do this at home? Where do we do this at business? At home, my son Noah, they have working Wednesdays, meaning Wednesday, which is technically today, they has to do homework. It's a homework day because there's no soccer, there's nothing going on, and it's a homework day. So those are a pre-commitment strategy. Now, if you're struggling with this, then you get an accountability partner. You find somebody who's going to hold you accountable to the decisions that you've made for something to do for your health, your wealth, your relationships, business, okay? Now, the other thing you can do is if you're in this predicament about business, do I quit my job? Do I go all in with this business? Do I work evenings and weekends for a year to make the money to eventually replace my income? Think about your mentor, and it's called the mentor mirror. So you literally go up to the mirror and your reflection is supposed to be your mentor. Visualize what they would say. Remove any emotional attachments, right? It's kind of like, what would Jesus do? It's like, what would your mentor say? And if you've been working with somebody for long enough, you would know. And don't stop there. Look at yourself in the mirror and use some Mel Robbins trickery and really encourage yourself to go out and do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Just jump out of bed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, make the decision. I use that so much. Right now, I'm stuck on this one decision. So we leave Sunday morning. I fly out to Mexico. But Saturday morning, my husband wants to go up to a place in the mountain to ski all day. And we've been invited to have dinner at a friend's house on Saturday night. Our place is only an hour from the house. And my flight's at 11 a.m. on Sunday. So he goes, why don't you just go up Saturday, pack all the things you need from Mexico, and then just leave from there and drive to the airport. And in my mind, I'm like, this doesn't feel right for me. And partially because I feel like there's so much stuff that I have to do on Saturday. Like I have to go to the gym. I need to get the chiropractor appointment and something else. I feel like I'd be rushing. So I'm still stuck in this loop of making this decision. There's so many options. He can go alone with the boys. I can go up for the day. I can come back, all these things. In my mind, I've already made the decision that I'm not going to go at all. Then when I say that, my mommy brain is like, but you're going to miss your kids because you're already going to be away for a week, not a month. So it's like this trickery. And sometimes I wonder why we get into these loops of just not even making the decision. And then when we finally do, we're like, oh, I don't really like that decision. It's not going to be perfect. But the mature person, the person who practices this over and over again, will make a decision and execute on it. They will go through with it. Unless there's new information to change their mind, you have to execute on it. What would your mentor say? And then coming back to the future self-test. So Jeff Bezos is known for this. He said this on an interview in 2008. He called it the regret minimization framework. So it's similar to the 10-10-10 one. It's a powerful decision-making tool famously used by Jeff when deciding whether he was going to leave his cushy Wall Street job to start Amazon, to start selling books online. So he says that you project forward. So you imagine yourself at age 80, looking back on that very moment. And you ask yourself, which choice would I regret not taking? Then you consider the long-term impact rather than your short-term fears. He would have, oh my gosh, he would have regretted. Imagine that. Look at him now. The key questions to ask are, will I regret not trying this even if I fail? Would I be more disappointed by failure or by never trying? What would my older self wish that I had done? Which choice aligns with my core values? And here's why it's effective, because it cuts through the immediate fears and anxieties. It helps establish and distinguish between temporary and permanent consequences. Sometimes when we look at like the permanent consequence of leaving a cushy Wall Street job to start a new online business back in the day that was just massive risk, it's the permanent consequence some people would think is so detrimental. But I disagree, because he could probably go back and get his job or find another job on Wall Street. And maybe he would have lost some money in developing Amazon. But the temporary consequence is everything he has to do to quit the job and start the company. And look at him now. So the other thing too, and why it's as powerful, is it forces alignment with personal values over external pressures. You got to think to yourself, you got to speak to that 80-year-old version of yourself and ask her, would she love the decision that you're making, or would she regret it? Would she tell you otherwise? Is she going to point you in the right direction, or is she going to say, oh, it's up to you, or that was stupid? See, the way that I think of the 80-year-old version of me is every single time I work out, I say 80-year-old version of Renee is going to thank me for this moment. So the workouts don't have to be perfect, but they need to be something. Sometimes it's just about creating habit, and sometimes it's really about pushing myself hard to build muscle and to burn the calories. So the power really lies in its simplicity, by focusing on potential regret rather than potential failure. So it's often this that clarifies the paths that we should be following, which is really our true desires that's wrapped in our values. Look, at the end of the day, making decisions under pressure isn't about having perfect frameworks or following some rigid system. It's not like, maybe some days it's like Plinko. But it's really about trusting yourself enough to take action when it matters most and not being afraid to take the leap. We all have that inner voice, that gut feeling that tells us which path to take. We know what's right, and that's rarely ever wrong. But sometimes, actually oftentimes, we'll let fear and doubt and other people's opinions drown out what we know is the right decision. When my husband asked me years ago, let's travel the world and homeschool the kids, for me, it was an F no. It wasn't the right time. I was running an agency. I had clients all over the world, employees. I couldn't even fathom the idea. And our stars aligned, and we now created the life that allows us to do this with ease. So sometimes the decision is saying no. Sometimes the decision is saying yes, committing to that decision. So what I want you to take away from this is simple. You already have everything you need to make good decisions. So the tools and the frameworks that I suggested, they're just there to help you tap into the wisdom that's already inside of you. So whether you're facing a big life choice, like getting married or having a baby, or a quick business decision, remember that regret usually comes from not listening to your intuition and not taking action. No one's ever said, I regret my intuition. So next time you're feeling that pressure, take a deep breath, trust yourself, and know that moving forward, even though it might be imperfect, it's always better than staying stuck in that indecision. The indecision is like, it's the worst feeling ever. Your future self will thank you for having the courage to make the call, and especially when it mattered the most. Remember, you've got this. Now go make those decisions, make them count with no regrets. Until next time, ladies, peace out.